The grand cathedral was packed with hundreds of guests, the air thick with the scent of roses and expensive perfume. Kiara Wood stood at the altar, her heart pounding in her chest as she stared into the eyes of the man she was about to marry. Noah West was everything a woman should want, handsome, wealthy, kind. But before she could say, "I do," the heavy wooden doors of the church burst open. A man strode inside, dressed in all black, his presence swallowing the room whole. Xavier Knight. His dark gaze locked onto her, unreadable yet burning with something dangerous. Before anyone could react, before her father could stand, Xavier moved. He crossed the distance, grabbed Isabella's wrist, and yanked her to his chest. "Let me go," she shrieked, but his grip was iron. "Not a chance, princess." Chaos erupted. Noah lunged forward. Guests screamed. But Xavier was faster. He threw her over his shoulder, storming back out the doors as the church fell into mayhem behind them. She had been stolen. And she had no idea why. Kiara awoke in a dimly lit room, the scent of whiskey and smoke heavy in the air. The bed beneath her was soft, but the chains around her wrist told her this was no luxury. She was a prisoner. A deep voice cut through the silence. "You're awake." She turned sharply. Xavier sat in the corner, his legs spread wide, elbows resting on his knees. He looked too calm, too composed, like a man who had done this before. "Why are you doing this?" she demanded, yanking at the chains. His lips curled. "Because your future husband owes me a debt. And you, sweetheart, are my payment." She froze. "What debt?" Xavier's expression darkened. "The kind you pay in blood." Days passed. Xavier kept her locked in his mansion, a fortress on the edge of the city. He controlled everything, her food, her clothes, even the time she was allowed outside. He watched her with those sharp, knowing eyes, waiting for her to break. But Kiara didn't break. She glared. She fought. She threw a glass at his head once, only for him to laugh as he dodged it. "You've got fire, princess," he murmured, cornering her against the wall. "I like that." His hand lifted, his fingers tracing the line of her jaw. Isabella flinched but refused to look away. "You think I'll fall for you?" she hissed. His smirk faded. "No, sweetheart. I think I'll fall for you." Her breath caught, but she forced herself to sneer. "I'd rather die." His grip tightened for a second before he let her go. "We'll see about that." Xavier was losing control. He wasn't supposed to care. He was supposed to ruin her. But every time Kiara looked at him with defiance in her eyes, he felt something crack inside him. One night, he found her standing by the window, moonlight spilling over her delicate features. She didn't flinch when he approached. "Do you even regret taking me?" she whispered. Xavier exhaled sharply. "No, and I destroyed him," he said. I frowned. "Who?" "Your future husband," Xavier admitted. "His company. His power. I ruined everything he built." The floor beneath me seemed to collapse. "Why?" My voice cracked. "Why would you do that?" His jaw clenched. "Because he ruined my family. He took everything from me, so I took everything from him. Including you." Tears burned my eyes. "Was I just part of your revenge? A pawn?" Xavier stepped closer, his voice breaking. "I thought you were. But now I am not sure." She ran one day, 'cause she is not sure what Xavier see her as, and she was unintentionally falling for him. She waited until he was asleep, until the house was quiet, and she slipped into the night, her heart thundering in her chest. She didn't stop running. Not even when her legs burned. Not even when she collapsed at the steps of her childhood home, gasping for air. She was free. But then why did it feel like she had left a piece of herself behind? 3 days later, Xavier found her. He stood in the pouring rain, his clothes soaked, his eyes haunted. She stepped back, heart pounding. "Xavier. Don't go," he said, his voice wrecked. You're the only one I have. Tears burned her eyes. I was just a pawn to you. You never loved me. His hands clenched. That's not true. She shook her head. Then why did you take me? He exhaled sharply. Because I wanted revenge. She flinched. He saw it. But then I wanted you more. She swallowed hard. It's too late, Xavier. His jaw tightened. I don't know how to love right, Kiera. But I swear to God, I love you. Silence stretched between them, heavy and aching. And then, despite everything, despite the pain, despite the past, she stepped into his arms. Because maybe, just maybe, the monster had a heart after all. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe.